So first, let's start with the big acquisition of last week, which was IBM acquiring HashiCorp. It's a big acquisition, $6 billion, but also one that kind of seemed a little bit inevitable in that HashiCorp has always been making most of its money off of big sales to large enterprises for these for kind of projects that were uh, very substantial in nature, which is where IBM really shines.
Yeah, this one, I won't say it left me head scratching. I agree with you to a certain degree. It's natural, particularly given IBM's recent history of doing these sorts of acquisitions, of sort of building out this portfolio. The part that I don't know that I fully get is what, other than capturing this revenue, what they're really getting. They're not getting access to customers. I would be shocked if these aren't completely overlapping. They already have a lot of cloud offering components. I mean, I don't. You can make an argument that they were losing to HashiCorp, but I don't know. This one, and maybe that's why. Maybe that was the whole impetus behind it. But you seem to have a broader perspective or take on it. So I'm curious how you think it plays out for them.
Yeah, I feel like IBM doesn't have to buy new customers at this point. Their entire goal is to get to however you think about that global 2000 or Fortune 500. They talk to large enterprises and they help them solve multi-million dollar problems. So anytime they can pick up any solution that helps with provisioning clouds, provisioning data centers, helping with orchestration and automation and security. That's a piece for them. And IBM is one of the companies out there that is really good at adding $100,000 or $500,000 pieces to an enterprise contract. IBM and Oracle are fantastic
Yeah.
at that kind of thing.
I guess what confuses me or worries me about it is that I feel, and it worries me for HashiCorp, right? Is that I feel like they have this history of buying a bunch of interrelated or adjacent companies, which ends up muddying their message and it being very
Mhm.
confusing. I look at what they've done in the monitoring observability space, and it's like I look at they have, and I'm not going to go through them, but a whole bunch of different acquisitions they did. And it's like, okay, they don't all do exactly the same thing, but they're really close. And now they're all under the IBM banner. They're maintaining independent brands, and it's really confusing. And I fear that this is going to be a sort of similar story, and it's sort of like what we were talking about with Broadcom the other day. That it's I feel like IBM sort of going that path, and I'd much rather see, even though it fell apart, like the Salesforce acquisition or potential acquisition of Informatica. While having its own issues, was I think represents like a better strategic approach to the market where they're actively looking at how they flesh out specific parts of what they're doing to drive a go-to-market strategy that's transformative for the organization. And I just don't see this acquisition of doing that for IBM. So that's where I was like, I'm not sure I get it entirely. I mean, I get it like on paper, but I don't like get this strategically. So anyway.
Yes, there's definitely been a history of acquisitions that don't work out because you have multiple products you've never actually standardized on a platform. We've talked in previous episodes about the power of the platform with the likes of ServiceNow, Zoho, etc. In some ways, HashiCorp is the opposite of that with the proliferation of products that they have due to growth by M&A. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether IBM can tie that together. But I also think that IBM has invested a lot in multi-cloud, trying to figure out how to make this whole private multi-cloud, hybrid multi-cloud space work through acquisitions like Apptio and Instana and like all these other little pieces of the puzzle to look at multi-cloud from a financial perspective or an operational perspective. And so this fits into that puzzle of saying,
And I do agree with that. The multi-cloud angle is the most compelling part of this story if they execute on some integrated messaging and vision, and that's the question as to whether or not they can do that.